Good morning, dear students. I am Dr. Savita Tidame, and we are studying the subject animal ecology, under which we have already started chapter 3, population. And in previous few lectures, we have studied the different characteristics of population as well as the population growth, even exponential and logistic growth we have already studied. Now in today's lecture we will be studying the population interaction, how the population is interacting with one another in a different way. So that we're going to study in detail in present lecture. Let's see. Population interaction, population of many species that interact in vital ways so that changes in one population will have effect on the other population. So as you if you remember, a population is nothing but a group of similar kind of organism. So in an ecosystem, number of such a populations are present and all together said to be community. Just a second, let me show you the diagram. Okay, it is not here. All right, so all together it is said to be okay. So the population of sheep, then the wild animals, all of them all together constitute a community, right? So all these organisms, they interact with one another in a specific way. They are showing some interactions, right? Just like this wild pig, or you can say wild boar, or you can say the tiger, or horses, they interact with one another, right? And showing some kind of interaction. So that interaction, whether it is a beneficial interaction or whether it is harmful interaction or not of any kind of interaction, what kind of interaction it is. So on the basis of such a different types of interactions, the population, or you can say a community, shows number of interactions, right? Just like competition, predation, mutualism, commensalism, and amensalism. So a number of such interactions have been recognized, in which three distinct classes are there always. The competition is between the population or member of the population, even predation and mutualism. So these are the main factors or interactive factors exist amongst the community, or you can say population. So competition, what is a competition? Say competition is always exist between whom? Between different species or between the member of same species? Yes, between the member of same species. It is not like, dear students, the monkeys will compete with a human for resources. No. Even you cannot say the cattle, they are compete with the human for residential area. No, the competition is exist between the human being itself, between the domestic animal themselves, right? That. So competition is a kind of interaction, animal interaction, found to be exist in the similar member of the species. So if the population, say this population 1 and population 2 both are same, of the same species, but if at this locality, if this population is going to increase, then that has a negative impact on the population of another areas, because this population is going to compete, going to share the food, shelter, even the space, right? So it will compete with the another population, another member, for the availability of all these natural resources, and hence increase in one population negatively influence the another population. Say just like if the urban area, urbanization is increased, then what will happen? No doubt, in the urban areas people are living, in the villages people are living, similar kind of species of a human being, right? But if urbanization is there, urbanization is going to spread, then what will happen? Villages are going to remain same, or villages are going to decrease in their number as well as their size. Yes, the villages will negatively influence, their number will decrease, because the urbanization, the villages will get converted into urban areas. So that kind of a competition is exist between the members of the same species, right? Then predation is what? depend on the other animal for the food. Means one organism depend on the other organism for the food, availability of the food. Okay, this is example of a predation, we can say, or even you can take example of some kind of a beetles. Ladybug beetle is feeding on the aphids, or this one. This is said to be the carnivorous animal feeding on the other animal. So if the population of these herbivores increase, so ultimately population of the carnivores will also increase. But if the population of carnivores is increased, then the population of herbivores will be decreased. So it is positively as well as negatively correlated. So in the predations, if the prey population increased, right? So just like if the zebra population, or you can say aphid population, is increased, so ultimately that shows a positive influence on their predator population. So their predators such as the tigers or the ladybug beetle, they will also increase because the food availability of food is more, no, in this case. So ultimately their predator will also going to increase. But if the predator number is increased like this, if the tigers or the lions, they are increasing number, ultimately they require some more food, so ultimately the number of their prey is going to decrease. So that shows a negative influence on the population of their prey, right? Even the next kind of animal interaction or population interaction is a mutualism. So in case of a mutualism, what happened, population 1 is positively correlated with the population 2, and population 2 is again positively correlated with the population 1. What it means? It means that whatever kind of interaction exists between this population 1 and population 2 is benefiting one another. It is benefiting one another. It is not going to harm, means not even a single member of this family are going to harm the another member, but rather they are mutually benefited, right? So such a kind of association is said to be the mutualism. For example, in this case, we can take an example of ants. Here is the ant and aphid is given, but we can consider it in a different way. So wood eating termites is again one of the example of mutualism. Here in this case, suppose this is a wood eating termite, no doubt this ant is eating aphid, but we have to consider about the wood eating termite. Okay, so this say wood eating termite, what they does, they used to feed on the wood, right? They used to feed on wood. Now as this termite, they cannot digest the cellulose. Cellulose kute hai? Where is the cellulose? Cellulose is present in the wood, right, plant parts. So this cellulose is not digested easily by the ants, but for the digestion of a cellulose, what they require, cellulase enzyme, and that enzyme is produced by the flagellate protozoan, a kind of a small protozoan that exists in the gut of this termite, wood eating termite especially, and that protozoan, flagellate protozoan, secrete that cellulase enzyme which helps to digest the cellulose. So ultimately the termite get benefit from the protozoan flagellate present in its gut, and the protozoan flagellate also get benefit from the termite, as they are getting the food as well as they are getting shelter in the body of a termite. So in this case, both the members, that is the termites, they are also benefited, and the flagellates, they are also benefited, right? And here in this mutualism example, what is there? Ant is there and aphids are there. So aphids, they are getting protection from other predator organism, so this is the benefit getting by the aphid from the ant, and ants, they are getting food material, so as they are feeding on the aphids. So actually this is not exact example, but wood eating termites and the flagellate protozoan is the exact example of this mutualism. Okay, all right. Then commensalism is exist between any kind of organism, in which one organism or one population if increased, that shows a positive impact on the other population, and if another one increased, that doesn't show any kind of a positive or negative influence on the another population. What it means? It means that say here example is given wild beast, and here the gazelles, like it is nothing but the like antelope, kind of a antelope. Now here let's see. Okay, so one is benefited and another one is not getting any kind of a benefit or harm. So such a kind of a relationship is said to be commensalism. Now let's see, here is any example I have quoted for the commensalism. Can you see here commensalism? Yes, here is the example of a commensalism. So in this case, now you may ask a question, what and how the commensalism exists between these two fishes, right? Okay, so as a larger fishes, they are feeding on the smaller fishes, other their animal, prey animal, right? And you can see here this small fish is continuously following the larger one. So what kind of a relationship is exist here, and why this small one is following the bigger fish? For what? For getting the food material. As a larger fish going to feed on another food animal, or it's another small fish animal, fish prey, so ultimately when it grab it as well as when it crush it, so a part of small food particles, small fish particles, they are released outside, they are released in nearby area, right? And the small fish used to feed on all that small food particles which are released by this fish. So ultimately this smaller fish get benefited, it gets a food from the larger one, so this one is at the benefit, and the larger one fish is not at any kind of a relationship, means it is not benefited because of the presence of a small fish with it, or it is not at harm because of the presence of this one with him, right? So it is a kind of a relationship in which the one fish or one animal is at the benefit and another one animal is not at benefit, not at harm. So such a type of relationship is said to be the commensalism. Hence it is said wild beast, or you can say larger fish or shark, positively correlated with the smaller fish, or here another example is given, and the smaller one is not having any kind of a relationship with the larger. So larger population of this one is independent of this, again it is like that. Then the next kind of relationship is amensalism. So amensalism, what do you mean by amensalism? Population 1, if it is increased, doesn't show any influence on the population 2. But population 2, if it is increased, it shows a positive influence on the population 1. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, so this amensalism, actually this image is not going exactly with the concept of amensalism, because amensalism is exactly means the population of one individual or one species increases, it suppresses or decreases or destroys the population of another individual. It's said to be the amensalism. Okay, so in this case here the larger trees, okay, if you might have seen the larger trees, and under the larger trees a specific area is there where there is a no vegetation. So vegetation of that area is been suppressed, it's been destroyed by the larger trees. So such a kind of a relationship is said to be amensalism. So my dear students, you have seen the population interaction in which different types of relationship exist between the different members of the population as well as a community. So commensalism, mutualism, parasitism, yes, parasitism is remaining now. Okay, so parasitism is again one of the type of interaction, right, in which the parasite, that is a smaller organism, is always getting food material or benefit from the larger one, and the larger one is always at the harm. Okay, if the insect bites you, if the mosquito bites you, you will get some pain, you will have some pain, yes, so you are at the harm, no. Hence the parasitism is different from the Commensalism. Commensalism in which another larger organism is not having any kind of a drawbacks or hazard, but here in this case the larger animal, that is a host, is always at the harm and the another one is always at the benefit. So such a kind of relationship is said to be the parasitism, right? So you have seen number of such interactions between the population, the competition, mutualism, parasitism, right, amensalism, commensalism. So number of such interactions we have studied. So my dear students, let's see what is a Gauss principle of a competition exclusion. So the Gauss principle of the competition exclusion, it is put forth by the scientist itself, Gauss, right? So in the interspecific competition, if two different species population requires a common resources for living, right? Two different species population, say for example like this, these two, consider this one and this one, requires a similar resources for living. Consider, just consider, okay? And if this resources is potentially or actually limiting, then two species population faces the competition, right? So if two, just like herbivores, two herbivores, and they are depend on the herbs, they are depend on the vegetation for fulfilling their daily requirement. So ultimately for availability of the food resources, there will be a competition type of interaction exist between the members, and here one species population will survive as it exert greatest negative effect on their competitor. And in such a interaction, who will survive, who will found to be fittest for the survival? The one who is more strong, the one population who is more strong and having more members will found to be fittest for survival, and ultimately it will shows a negative influence on the member of another species. So growth of the surviving species or population to its carrying capacity is slower and than if the second population had been absent. Thus only one species will survive and there will be an exclusion or displacement of one of the population by competition. So Gauss principle of a competition exclusion is this. So if two similar kind of a species, means two species are there requiring a similar kind of habitat or requiring similar kind of a food material or anything resource, natural resource, but the natural resource is again limited, and the one who is very strong will going to acquire the natural resource. Ultimately the another one who is weak but requires the same resource is again excluded, removed or displaced from that habitat. So this is the principle of the competition exclusion, okay? Thus only one species will survive and there will be an exclusion or the displacement of one of the population by competition. This is called as a Gauss principle of a competition exclusion, which states that the complete competitors cannot exist. Okay, the complete competitors that cannot exist, it is said by the Gauss. And both the species coexist indefinitely only when interspecific competition is less intense than intraspecific one in both the species. The population have let's see what it means. Both the species coexist indefinitely, they can exist together, right, only when interspecific competition is less intense. Okay, if this competition between two different species is less intense than the competition between the intraspecific species. So within, if the member of the same species, they are competing with each other, rather they are competing with the another member of the another species. So at that time these two species can coexist together. Neither population reaches the carrying capacity it would have in the absence of the other one. So as there is no competition between the adjacent species, so none of them can reaches towards the carrying capacity. The species beginning at higher density persist and the other one is eliminated. Obviously the members who are stronger and more in numbers will continue the population, whereas another one who is weaker and less in number will eliminated from the ecosystem. or that habitat, and this is a special case when the population have equally negative effect on the growth of each other, but interspecific competition is stronger than the intraspecific competition. What it says? It says that the interspecific competition is stronger. The competition exists between two species is always stronger than the competition exists between the similar member of the same species. So here one example is given. Okay. Interspecific competition exists amongst the Paramecium aurelia. Now here you can see the Paramecium aurelia. Paramecium is a genus common at both the stages. So these two are said to be the aurelia is a species, Caudatum is again a species. So the interspecific means the competition exists between this aurelia and the Caudatum is quite stronger as compared to the population or interaction exists amongst the Caudatum species or amongst the aurelia species. Okay. Okay, here is again the diagrammatic presentation of that interspecific competition. What it says here, you can see Paramecium aurelia grown separately. These are the on a y-axis days are plotted. So initially it grows slower when it was grown alone in the culture media, and then slowly it grows faster, go faster. And the population density, the number of individuals slowly goes on increasing, and at some time they increases steadily, remain constant. Here is again the Paramecium caudatum grows separately, and within few days its a number is going to be increased, right? So both the species coexist together if they are cultured in one and the same medium. What happened? Two species of the Paramecium when cultured together and separately, both the species are fed on the bacteria, yeast and culture medium, right? So the bacteria occur more in oxygen rich upper part of the culture tube, and yeast in the oxygen poor lower part of the culture tube. If they are cultured together, as both of them are feeding on the bacteria, yeast as well as culture medium, and the bacteria which are feeding on the means present on the uppermost oxygenated part of the medium, and in the lower portion what is there? Yeast is there. So because each Paramecium species was strongly different in size, so Gauss calculated population growth as combination of number of individual per milliliter of the solution multiplied by their unit volume to give a population volume of each species. When these two members, that is Paramecium aurelia and Paramecium caudatum, when they grow separately, they shows a sigmoidal kind of a curve. This is called as a sigmoidal curve or a sigmoidal growth pattern, or you can say the logistic growth. Both of them are showing the sigmoidal growth curve, but when they are when both the species of the Paramecium, that is aurelia and caudatum, they are cultured together, their growth pattern were sigmoidal in the first week. You can see here the growth pattern is sigmoidal in the first week, but later there was a gradual increase of the Paramecium aurelia and gradual decrease in the Paramecium caudatum species. Why this happened? Any cases, this is due to both the species are using bacteria as a food. Okay, sigmoidal, initially they are showing sigmoidal growth curve, but later on, after few days, the Paramecium aurelia population goes on increasing and the Paramecium caudatum population goes on decreasing. Why this happened? Because both of them are going to share the similar kind of a food, that is the bacteria. And this Paramecium aurelia grew at a rate 6 times faster. The growth rate of this aurelia is very faster as compared to caudatum. So it grows 6 times faster than the caudatum, and these are means Paramecium aurelia, they are better able to convert the food into their offsprings. Their rate is very fast, 6 times they are faster. So consider within a 6 days they can multiply 6 times. So as compared to this cod atom, and within 6 days cod atom will multiply only once. So ultimately the number of individual of this population, that is Paramecium aurelia, will be more in culture medium, which suppresses the population of the cod atom in the culture medium. Hence the cod atom growth curve of the cod atom is found to be declining, and the growth curve of the Paramecium aurelia is found to be increasing consistently, right? So thus from this experiment, what Gauss can concluded? Gauss concluded that the species with exactly same requirement cannot live together. Now these two species, they are having, means they require a similar kind of food, they require, that is bacteria or yeast as well as culture media, right? Similar kind of species are there requiring, similar kind of requirements are there for these two species. So these two species cannot live together in the same place and use the same resources, that is occupied by the same niches. So his conclusion later termed as the competition exclusion principle. So in this case, what the Gauss said that two species, they cannot live together if they having similar kind of a requirement. One will become more stronger and increase in size, whereas another one will become less stronger and decrease in number and excluded from the competition, removed from the competition, right? Thrown out from the competition or through that niches or ecosystem area. So this is called as a competition exclusion principle of Gauss of competition exclusion.